Amazon has a new series coming out, loosely based off Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. And like many other Lord of the Rings fans, I was simply just going to ignore the schlock that Amazon is about to drop on us. I've heard what Jeff Bezos has said about his little pet project. I've read interviews from producers, writers, actors, and actresses that are developing the show and what their direction is for it. I've even heard the Tolkien experts weigh in on the project and give their opinions. And I just want to let you know that I'm not an expert. I'm just a fan of the Lord of the Rings book and the movie series. I think Tolkien's book is one of the best books that's ever been written. I think Peter Jackson's movie trilogy is the best movie trilogy that's ever been made. Now, I know there might be different opinions there, but when I watched it as a kid, I really loved it, and I haven't seen anything better since then. You could tell that he really liked the book. He wanted to pay homage to Tolkien. He wanted to do the best job he could to bring that book to life. And he did a great job. I always cut movies slack. When you're trying to do different mediums, books to movies or video games to movies, it's never going to translate right. So I always cut movies slack, but I think Peter Jackson has done the best job with his Lord of the Rings trilogy than I've seen anyone do bringing comic books or anything to the big screen. That being said, I could tell that he liked Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, whereas Amazon and the people working on Amazon's series, I don't get that feeling from them. I don't think they like it at all. So I was just going to let it go. I wasn't going to have anything to do with it. But they recently released their second trailer, and I've checked that out recently, and there was one line in it that really did not sit well with me.
The past is dead. We either move forward or we die with it.
Hacks, shill, talentless hacks. This is the current state of Hollywood, Netflix, and Amazon right now. If they aren't stealing from it, then they're shitting on it. The nerve of them to put this line in this show. I mean, are you serious? If it wasn't for Tolkien and the Lord of the Rings, this series would not be a thing because you wouldn't be able to shield off of that legacy. Also, there's other things that we should talk about with your trailer and what you're doing in this show. You're ripping other shows off because you have no talent. You can't write. It's called fantasy, and you can't make shit up. That's pathetic. Let's start off with that line itself. You stole it. From all places, you steal it from Disney Star Wars. Another shield product from an awful company making a subpar product. Are you kidding me? If you're going to steal, steal from something good.
Let the past die. Kill it if you have to. That's the only way to become what you were meant to be.
Let's talk about a couple more problems you have in your trailers. Now look, these are trailers from your company. You edited the footage together and you put them out there for the public to consume. This is you marketing your television series to us to get us to watch. Now, I understand that your boss, Bezos, likes Game of Thrones. He prefers Game of Thrones. I get it. You got to do what your boss wants. Keep the boss happy. I understand. He's paying the bills. Now, why boomers think the way they think, I don't know. Maybe Bezos likes it because it's the more current thing. Maybe it's because there were some memes made about it. Maybe some tweets. Maybe there were some reaction videos and bars from normies that were absolutely loving the hot garbage that was being shoveled to them. I don't know why he likes what he likes, but he prefers Game of Thrones over Lord of the Rings. It sure isn't book sales, right? I mean, Lord of the Rings embarrasses Game of Thrones. Why? Well, a big reason of why that is true and why Lord of the Rings is so much more popular than Game of Thrones is because Lord of the Rings is a complete story. All right? It's a tale for the ages. It's wonderful. Where Game of Thrones is a story that will never be completed. I don't know if Game of Thrones fans have figured that out yet or not, but Martin is never going to finish that book series. It will have to be somebody else. Alright, so you have some writers that aren't good at writing, but they know what the boss wants because the boss has told them what he wants. So if you're a talentless hack writer, what do? You steal it for him, of course. In each one of the trailers they put out so far, they put out 2 trailers, there are scenes where they have characters climbing up an ice wall, like a rock face with ice hanging from it. They stole it right from Game of Thrones, except for Game of Thrones did it better. It's pathetic. Look, writers, the genre is fantasy. There are many things that you could have done other than stealing. You could have said, hey, they're going to scale up a rock face. No ice. Could have been something that simple. You could have had plants growing on it, some really cool looking plants. You could have done that. You could have had creatures come out of it. You could have animals come out of the rock face to like attack them, or insects come out to attack them. You could have like birds come down. There are a ton of things you could have done other than just stealing from Game of Thrones and putting it into your show. You hacks. The Scottish female Frodo Baggins. Hollywood has been doing this for some time now. The comic industry has been bad about this as well, and corporations like Disney are acquiring IPs, and along with those IPs, established characters and established fan bases. Corporations don't necessarily want the fan base or the established characters, they just want the platform of the known IP. With that new platform, they can do what they wish. They can tell whatever stories they want, deliver any messages that they would like. Race and gender swapping, turning characters gay are all ways talentless writers create new characters. Many times the only thing that changes on these characters are just superficial. These new characters usually have the same abilities and skills, and even sometimes they want to keep the same titles. We have a clear example of this in the Rings of Power. In Lord of the Rings we have the Hobbits. Everybody's familiar with the Hobbits. It's the short fellows with hairy feet that are the good guys trying to save the world from evil, and evil is trying to stop them and take over the world. Pretty simple, timeless story, right? Well, in Amazon's Lord of the Rings, we have the Harfoots.
Elves have forests to protect. Dwarfs their mines. Men their fields of grain.
That's so bad. That's just so bad they couldn't name them something different. But they apparently, by the trailers that we have been shown from Amazon, are the Scottish hippie cousins of the Hobbits. Now, I could be completely wrong about this, and I hope I am. It would be nice if, like, Amazon made this group the villains of the series. They were some eco-terrorists. That would be kind of funny. The Hobbits, peace and love, man. It's about the earth, man. And these humans and these orcs and these elves, man, they want to make these rings and have power, man, and industrialize the world, bro. And that'll make the world unhappy, man. And then they turn out to be some eco-terrorists that are like undermining the humans. That would be pretty funny to see that, but of course, that's not going to happen. There's no way these writers have the chops or the balls to make a female Frodo and hobbits of color the villains. That ain't going to happen. You know what it's going to be. It's going to be some Captain Planet type bullshit. Another big problem that Amazon's Rings of Power have is that the people writing and producing the show haven't ever read the book or watched Peter Jackson's movie, The Lord of the Rings. They don't know the material, which is so just... How do you not watch the movie if you're going to make a series on it? An example is part of the promotional material that they put out, and in the commercials, there's plenty of scenes of the Dwarf Queen. She doesn't have a beard. What is up with that? It's like they didn't watch the movie at all. There's a very popular scene, I remember it, where Gimli is explaining that people didn't know that there was dwarf women because they looked so similar to dwarf men.
It's true you don't see many dwarf women. And in fact, they are so alike in voice and appearance that they're often mistaken for dwarf men. It's the beards. And this in turn has given rise to the belief that there are no dwarf women. And that dwarfs just spring out of holes in the ground. Which is, of course, ridiculous.
You know, like, and it led to the rumor that there were no dwarf women and that dwarves just spring out of holes in the ground, you know? And there was a scene where they close in on Aragorn and he's motioning that they have beards, which is why they can't tell. I mean, it was funny. I remember a kid laughing at that. They got beards, women, you know. But in the promotional material and in the commercials, apparently the people that are writing the show didn't know that dwarf women have beards. Well, how are they going to mistake a dwarf woman and a dwarf male if the dwarf woman doesn't have a beard? The dwarf men do have beards. It's kind of easy to tell, right? They got to look similar, but not if you don't care about what you're doing and you're just chilling. It's abundantly clear to me that the people involved in the production of Amazon's Rings of Power don't care about Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. They don't care about Peter Jackson's movie trilogy. And I wouldn't have anything to do with Amazon's Rings of Power if it wasn't for that one line. That really just pissed me off. It's like they don't want to take any criticism. They want you to forget about Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. Forget about Jackson's Lord of the Rings. This is our IP now. This is our intellectual property. And we'll tell the story that we want, regardless of what came before. And you will love it, or, you know, you can go away. Well, I'm going to take that cue. I'm going to go away. I'm not going to have anything to do with this. But I do hope that Amazon can get their stuff together. I hope they stop ignoring the fans of Tolkien and the fans of Peter Jackson's. I hope they listen to them, and I hope they can improve the show and make the show better for everybody. I don't think that their arrogance is going to get them very far with this fan base. So I hope they course correct.